Asif still could not use his special power due to the remnants of sadness still stuck in his heart. So he and the sage and Akleel had to think of another plan other than confrontation, through which they could distract the guards and return Sarabi to her mother. The wise one carefully slipped through the people's feet, ensuring no one would step on him. He then chose a woman wearing a short dress and deftly climbed up her bare leg, reaching her thigh and continuing upward until his head finally emerged from the neckline of her dress. He smiled at her, breathing a sigh of relief, and said in the tone of someone relieving themselves behind a tree, "Ah, it's warm and damp here." The woman screamed at the top of her lungs, despite him being a rat, which was reason enough to scare any woman. He also spoke like a human and had a long beard resembling that of a billy goat. The woman, along with the other women who were frightened by the rat, caused a great commotion among the crowd, forcing the guards to move from their positions to restore order. According to the plan agreed upon by the three friends, it was now Iksir's turn. He jumped from a high place, flapped his wings in the air, balancing himself until he landed on the face of the merchant Adnan. Adnan tried to shoo away the orange bird that blocked his vision, but he struggled to do so. When he finally managed to remove the bird from his face and turned to where the fifth slave girl had been standing, she was gone. He shouted at the top of his voice, "Guards! Guards! The slave girl has disappeared. Catch her!" When he looked down at himself, he found that his clothes had also disappeared from his body. He covered what he could with his short hands and said in embarrassment, "And search for my clothes too." Amid the chaos caused by the wise rat, Asif managed to slip through the guards' ranks with great agility, unnoticed. He took advantage of the brief moment when Iksir blocked the fat merchant's vision, grabbed Sarabi in his arms, and fled with her. Since she wasn't wearing anything, he didn't forget to take Adnan's clothes to cover her body before escaping. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. Asif smiled and said, "To see someone dear." Everyone managed to meet at the rendezvous point they had agreed upon when devising the plan. Firaz embraced her daughter Sarabi and cried uncontrollably, unable to believe she had finally gotten her back. "I felt like my heart was ripped out when those men attacked our village and kidnapped you," she said. "Why didn't my pleas to return to you affect them, mother?" Sarabi asked. "Because men don't have hearts in their chests, my daughter. But don't be sad. I'll be with you, and I won't let anyone take you away from me again," Firaz replied. Iksir interjected, as if he heard approaching voices. "The guards!" The wise rat shouted, "We must leave. The guards are coming." Before they could move away, a sharp object gleamed in the sky, heading straight for Asif. Firaz noticed it, but there wasn't enough time to warn him or push him out of the arrow's path. In the blink of an eye, blood splattered everywhere, and everyone was shocked and terrified. "Mother!" Sarabi screamed. At that moment, with the arrow embedded in Firaz's chest and the 5 guards surrounding them from all directions, a terrible silence fell over the place. The sound of heartbeats could be heard, pounding fearfully from within their chests. Asif didn't feel sadness then, but anger. His left eye turned a dark red, and he felt his limbs stiffen, heat surging through his body, and iron rods swimming in his veins. For a moment, the 5 guards, witnessing the terrifying transformation of the hybrid boy, felt an intense desire to cry and apologize for what they had done. But they were about to learn something they had failed to realize in their past years. There are some mistakes for which apologies or remorse are useless. Asif pounced on them like a rabid wolf attacking a chicken coop. When he finished with them and returned to check on Firaz, Sarabi screamed at him in fear, clutching her mother on the ground. "Please, you monster, don't hurt us." "I'm not a monster," he said. "Please, stay away," she pleaded again. The wise rat, seeing the severity of the injury, said, "It's no use. She will die." Asif shouted at him as if accusing him of negligence. "Try to do something to help her. Do you think if I could do something, I would hesitate?" The arrow pierced her chest, causing damage far beyond what I or anyone else can fix, you fool. "You're nothing but a filthy rat, good for nothing," Asif said in a fit of rage. His left eye turned dark red again, and his power went out of control, threatening everyone present. He was so enraged that he might kill anyone without realizing it. The wise rat, aware of this, thought of a quick solution to protect everyone from his recklessness. He shouted, "Will you kill us too, like you killed your mother before?" As soon as Asif heard this, his fangs and claws retracted, and his left eye returned to normal. He ran away from the spot where they were standing. Firaz called out to him, "Please, don't go." Asif stopped but didn't turn back, perhaps because he didn't want anyone to see the tears welling welling up in his eyes. Firaz spoke with great difficulty due to the arrow in her chest. Turn around, Asif. I can hear you without turning, but I want to see your face before I go. Don't go, he said, turning to her in tears. Then he added, why didn't you let the arrow kill me? Why did you take it instead of me? Why did you do this to yourself? Because I can't protect my daughter like you can, Firaz said, pausing briefly from the pain. Then she continued, will you repay this debt and protect my daughter with your life, Asif? He didn't answer, so Firaz said, speak. I don't have enough time to hear your answer. He remained silent, fighting back tears. The wise rat said impatiently, speak. The woman is dying. Iksir approached Firaz and gently wiped the beads of sweat from her face with his soft feathers. He whispered, I will protect her, then flew and perched on Sarabi's shoulder, adding, with my life. The wise rat stood on his hind legs, clasping his hands like a beggar asking for alms, and I, Firaz, will also protect her with my life. Then, just before Firaz closed her eyes for the last time and departed forever, Asif placed his hand over his heart and shouted with all his voice, as if he were a soldier taking an oath before his commander. I promise you, Firaz, I promise to protect her with my life. Shortly after Firaz's death, while everyone was feeling sorrow and regret for her, Ikil was able to detect the sound of numerous footsteps approaching. He jumped off Sarabi's shoulder, flapped his wings, and soared into the air to investigate the source of the noise further. He hovered twice before descending back to them, exclaiming, many guards are coming. The sage shouted, Asif, let's get away from this place. Asif out to Sarabi, come with us. Sarabi snapped, get your hand off me, you beast. Ikil whispered to her pleadingly, come with us, Sarabi. The sage begged her, please, we must move quickly. And so, everyone fled the area to avoid a direct confrontation with the caravan guards. However, they hadn't gone far when they spotted a village along their path. They thought they might be able to hide there until the danger had passed. As soon as they entered the village, they encountered an elderly man who had just stepped out of his house. He had a long white beard and a face marked by tranquility and dignity, leaning on a wooden cane with his back slightly bent forward. He spoke in a deep, hoarse voice, as if a lot of dust had settled on his vocal cords. What are you running from, my children? The guards, said Asif. They're after us. And what do they want from you? Asked the old man. They want to capture us to sell us. Asif replied. Why would they want to sell you? The old man inquired. Because we escaped from the slave market, Asif explained. Where are they? The old man asked. The sage interjected sharply. If you keep interrogating us, you'll soon see them in front of you, arresting us and dragging us away from you. He then added, will you help us, or should we continue to flee? This mouse can talk? The old man exclaimed. This mouse can also kick your old behind. You senile man, the sage retorted. They heard the sound of footsteps approaching. Come inside. I'll hide you for a while, the old man said. The guard stopped to ask him, you, old man, have you seen any strangers in this village? A boy, a girl, an orange bird, and a rotten mouse? The sage was about to comment, but Asif covered his mouth. Yes, I've seen them, the old man said, then added, pointing in a direction. They went that way. The old man closed the door and said gently, don't be afraid. They've left, my children. Asif, breathing a sigh of relief and preparing to leave, said, thank you. We won't forget your kindness. Why the hurry? Spend the night here and continue your journey tomorrow if you wish, the old man offered. None of them felt tired, but Asif knew that danger still loomed around them, and there was a high probability that the caravan guards would set a trap for them outside the village that night. He nodded in agreement. We'll spend the night here and resume our journey in the morning. The old man gave them a private room and asked them to set aside their shyness and act as if each was in their own home. To give them more privacy, he didn't stay long with them. The sage approached Asif shyly. He knew the wound he had caused when he said, will you kill us too, like you killed your mother before? So he asked regretfully, are you angry with me? You only said that to protect the others, so I'm not angry with you, Asif replied. The sage felt a lot of joy upon hearing that response and then said, as if offering Asif a token of friendship, you know, I'll stay with you until you find the fairy Kizrin and achieve your revenge. Really? Asif asked. The sage nodded and added, but after that, you'll ask your grandmother to lift the spell for me. Agreed? Asif smiled when he heard the word agreed and said, agreed. A little after midnight, the old man knocked on their door. He was carrying a large plate filled with delicious food. Smiling Smiling as he entered, he said, "You must have had a tough day and are feeling hungry, my children." Sarabi didn't feel like eating due to her mother's death, but she said politely, "What a kind man you are." The sage climbed onto Asif's body and settled on his shoulder, whispering, "You did well to accept this invitation." The only one who wasn't comfortable with this situation was Ikil. He had been closely watching the old man's actions with great caution and muttering to himself from time to time with words no one could hear. Asif approached him and whispered, "What's wrong with you? Liar, liar," Ikil said, then jumped into the air and attacked the old man, causing him to drop the plate of food. The old man was much too weak to resist the fierce attack from the bird for no reason, which made Asif shout at the top of his voice in defense, "Stop, Ikil, stop." Ikil didn't listen, forcing Asif to intervene forcefully to stop him. He grabbed him by the tail and slammed him against the wall, causing him to receive a strong blow to the head and fall to the ground. Asif ran to the old man. "Are you okay, grandfather?" "Don't worry, my son, I'm fine," the old man whispered in pain. The sage laughed softly, so Sarabi poked him with her finger and whispered, "Why are you laughing?" "Nothing, but Asif's word, grandfather, made me laugh," the sage replied. Asif turned to Ikil. "What's wrong with you? Do you do this to people who help us?" Ikil was about to defend himself, but Asif cut off his chance to speak. "I don't want to hear anything from you. Get out of my sight."